Thank you for listening to the Following Films podcast. Before we get into the show, if you like what we do here and want to help us grow, please take a quick second to subscribe. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening. It seriously goes a long way and helps other movie lovers find us. Today, we're talking about Above the Line, a film that hits digital and VOD today. The story follows 6 struggling Hollywood hopefuls who decide the ultimate way to make a comeback is to team up and literally rob the Academy Awards from the crooked producer who crushed their dreams. But as you can imagine, in a town completely built on make-believe, trying to pull off a real heist might just be the toughest role of their lives. It's got a fantastic ensemble cast, including Cedric the Entertainer, Gregg Henry, Sophia Ali, and Jackson Pace. And it's just a great fast-paced 90 minutes. Joining me today to chat about how he put this whole wild ride together is the co-writer and director of the film, Jeffrey Scott Collins. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Are you still a collector? Do you have any, or is that just something that passed you by?
Yeah, I know. I have all mine. My dad's got a huge collection too. No, I miss the 90s. I wish in the early 2000s. I wish we were still doing. But I heard that Blu-rays they went up in sales last year.
They did. It's kind of like the early vinyl resurgence where there's kind of people that are my age, 50 and up, that are buying them. And then younger people are buying them because I guess they just want something tangible they can hold on to, something tactile.
Yeah. Magazines. I love it.
Magazines. Those are a rare thing these days.
Yeah. Apparently those have gone up as well. So
that's awesome.
I'm here for it. That's for sure.
So, The first question I had written down for you when I was watching the film was something that actually stuck. And I kind of thought, oh, this is just a joke question. It'll be fun. But then you get to the end of the movie and the intention actually showed up, because I was going to ask you if this is a Christmas movie. And I just thought, the setting, it's not really a Christmas movie. We just set it Christmas. And to me, no, this is actually very much about Christmas. And most films about Christmas are very hopeful. And I think Christmas in its execution is often very cynical in reality. And so I think your film is very much dealing with the reality of Christmas in some way. Was that part of the reasoning or rationale behind setting this film at Christmas?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. Yes. So my co-writer and I, on this, we, were very inspired by Shane Black.
Sure.
Yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, those type of films that are set at Christmas. And I love anything that I love what Tarantino does, where something's like, hopeful or like happy music, but something dark and sinister is happening underneath it. So I think there was definitely, we wanted that feel, that kind of nostalgic feel that like a Shane Black type movie set at Christmas has. But what I love about it too is that it does seem hopeful and happy on the outside, but you dig deeper, and I feel like that's a lot of things. LA, can be viewed that way because it's very sunny, palm trees, but there's a lot of struggle and stuff going on there. And then also another thing too was the idea that these 6 people, don't have anything else to do on Christmas Eve, or they're choosing this potential opportunity instead of spending it with loved ones on Christmas Eve. So there was a combination there. And then also, kind of like in the movie Catch Me If You Can, Tom Hanks calls Leonardo DiCaprio, Leo calls Tom Hanks on Christmas Eve because he's got nobody else to call. So those were all the inspirations behind it. Yeah.
And there's even a little bit of, I don't know if you're familiar, if you've seen Swimming with Sharks, but it reminded me in a way
Oh yeah.
of that in a lot of ways where but it's absolutely its own thing. Where, yeah, it has these feelings and textures that you could point to other films, but I think you're doing something very unique within this film, where the structure of it is unlike any of those films that we just talked about, that it has a setup and a payoff that is wildly different, where you introduce the six characters and then you kind of go through each one of them and you have almost this episodic feel to how they ended up in that room. And there's other films that are structured that way for sure, but this, not like this with this particular story. I think it was really interesting to see that, where it had, it's almost like if you decided to make the Haunting of Hill House, the Vincent Price version,
Mm,
but you actually gave backstory to the characters. So it was that sort of like, how did they all get
yeah.
here this night? What made them get there? And I think that that's a really interesting approach to material. And could you talk about these sort of this six characters and what drove them there, and how you built that little world?
Yeah, I mean, definitely structure is something that, we really wanted to play with. We always had the idea of nonlinear,
Mm-hmm.
especially with flashbacks with each character. And to me, my favorite thing about any film is always the characters. So always wanted these fleshed out, very specific characters that all had their own individual, encounter and motivation with Jack Woodrow. Um, and the structure, we actually tweaked it a little when it's written, how we originally wrote it. Um, I believe it was the end of the before the flashback, you find out that the um what's in the bag, and that it's I don't want to give anything away.
Sure.
um so we definitely play with it even more so in the edit. But yeah, we wanted each character to feel very fleshed out and to have their own individual stories with Jack. And I think that's where um each for me, there's again, I don't want to give too much away, but I had a situation where there was a producer. It's a long story, but a quote unquote producer that was passing a script of mine around town. They changed the title of it and put by them, and was passing it around
Oh,
town as their own script.
Jesus.
And I had an agent call to tell me that. So that was, different scenarios like that. We wanted each character to have their own kind of motivation behind it.
Hence the refrigerator moment in the movie. Kind of,
Ye-
yeah. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
The whole, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, the
And so,
whole, yeah.
how do
And
you?
also, oh sorry, also
No, no, please.
I I interviewed with a to be their assistant, a famous producer who's no longer in the industry. And that happened shortly after the script incident. So those were two of the motivations behind the movie.
So, is it possible to have talent be morally centered and succeed in Hollywood?
I think so for sure. I think there's obviously a lot of great, tremendous, successful
Yeah,
people. I've worked with a lot of them. This is, more of the cynical,
of
in a
course.
way. And so I think there's both paths. I think there's some people that, have a great moral compass and are really great people and do well. And then there's certain people that, will do whatever it takes. To make it and be successful. And that's in any industry, any walk of life. I think what we really wanted to do is when that person tried to steal my script, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, I need to understand what makes somebody do this, like what makes them go to those lengths. So, and I think that that's in all walks of life. It's just that within Hollywood, it's often seen as chasing your dreams. So that was the idea behind that.
So, do you have empathy for that person that takes somebody else's work and passes it off as their own?
They, yeah, I mean, I feel like they must be in very desperate
Sure.
a desperate situation to have to do something like that. So sure, yeah, I have empathy there. I think what they were doing was trying to use it as a sample of their writing to get writing jobs. Um, but still, I think it's crazy, and I couldn't even imagine doing something like that. But
No,
yeah, if somebody's in that scenario, they must be struggling in some capacity.
that's a cheat that'll get found out pretty quickly that you don't have the ability to write if you're passing it off. If you get an assignment
Yeah.
based on somebody else's work, day one when you start
Yeah.
turning in pages, it's not you're not going to be able to deliver. So, and if you can deliver, why the fuck
I
did
would
you do that in the first place?
100%. I think you would be found out. Nowadays, maybe they would try to rely on ChatGPT and then they would get caught there. So who knows? But yeah, I think that's something that would get discovered pretty quickly.
The weird thing about those writing analytics tools at this point, they're still pretty immature because I've plugged things
Mhm.
in that I've written and it's saying that it's like 30% created by AI and it's 100% something I wrote.
Wow.
And it was giving this false
Wow.
signal because I have, it could be that when I'm writing reviews, I have a formula that I follow. And so there's very
Right.
specific things that I go through. And it's, I'm just like plugging in these ideas to some degree where it's just, and that's just a shortcut that I take where it's not unlike setting up the structure of a film where you're saying, okay, what do I need to set up in the first act that's going to pay off in the second, that's going to pay off in the third act, and what's the through line that I'm doing. You do that when you write a 1,000 word review. Also, you have these ideas that you
For
want you
sure.
carry
For
from thing to
sure.
thing, and I'm plugging it in.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it was just too formulaic, but it's saying that no, you got 37% AI generated. You're like, shit, okay.
That that's so funny. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. So yeah, yeah, that's really
Anyway,
interesting.
but
Yeah.
the film, and I think you touched on the idea that the characters are sort of the key to your film, and I think your
Yeah.
casting is so important here, and it's not just
Mm.
one character that you're hanging your hat on. This is truly an ensemble film, so you have to get the casting of the
Yeah.
whole piece together. Or any one of these doesn't work, I think your film really falls apart because they're
Yeah.
all sort of a load bearing stud at some point in the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think in two facets. One, the reason I brought on a co-writer, John O'Matt, for this, and he was fantastic and brought so much to the characters, was um that there are so many characters and it is an ensemble. So I just felt like it'd be great to have another voice to really help shape these characters, make sure they're specific, different. And he was great working with for that. And then also Tinica, our casting director, has a phenomenal eye and just a great taste. So going through the casting process with her, she brought up Gregg Henry and who I've loved forever and
Yeah,
um yeah, just everybody across the board, they're all just fantastic and I agree. I think they really make the film and if there's a weak link that would be tough, but fortunately to me
you don't have that
everybody's
problem.
phenomenal in the movie. Yeah, yeah. Very, very lucky. Very lucky.
And can you talk a little bit about the way that you're balancing this sort of it little bit of a mystery box of a film with the comedy and how to kind of
Mm.
keep that story flowing and keep the comedy going because those are two things that for pacing they can sometimes require very different modes and timing of comedy is so precise and timing of the payoff of a mystery is very specific and it's not a lot of people try it but very few people can pull it off and I think you got one that actually really works on both sides here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I mean, for me, those were just the type of films I was always drawn to. The
Mm,
Tarantinos, again, Shane Black, Out of Sight, Soderbergh, those I've always loved films, and now you see it in a lot of TV shows that really balance tone and genre. Um, and I think, I just did a horror film last year, that'll be coming out later this year. And I think there is something to directors and writers who can do horror and comedy.
Agreed.
And you're really seeing it a lot with Zach Kreger, Curry Barker. There's a rhythm to it, I feel, that's pretty similar. Um, and for better or worse, you get immediate feedback and test screenings. So, but yeah, I think there is something to that, and I think, it is a fine line to balance, and I think that's where the editing process is hugely helpful, and doing test screenings in the process, because you are working with very flawed characters. So you want to make them complex, flawed, but have the audience root for them, and that seems to be the case when you're balancing genres as well. So to make sure that you're really on that line between the two.
Well, I think we often get confused with the idea of likability from test screenings and compelling.
Yeah.
And a character doesn't have to be
Yeah.
likable. We need them to be compelling. So we ask that question, do you like them? Are you pulling for them? It's like,
Hmm.
no, I fucking hate this character. But,
Yes.
when you have a Walter White, you want to follow them. You want to see where they're
Literally
going.
who I was thinking of. Yep.
Okay,
100%. Yeah. I was literally thinking of Cranston in Breaking Bad. And then I think Greg is, one of my favorite characters is Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men.
sure.
Um, and that's, who we really um, was a North Star for Jack Woodrow in this, as a good example. And I think he's the perfect, balance of that, of, like you're saying, like the audience, I think, will really like seeing him on screen, but is he the most likable character? I don't, but compelling for sure. Hopefully.
He's not scared to chew up some scenery in a moment, but
Yeah.
still feel like a real character because he is. There
Yeah.
are people that you meet that are absurd.
Yeah.
Especially, I've met a handful of producers that are of a they live in a different world than I do, and they don't. Their feet, I don't think, ever touch the ground. And I think Jack
Yeah.
is one of those characters where he just lives in such a disconnected world. It feels
Yeah.
believable, but not relatable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even like there's certain famous producers that are like, the ones that yell and go nuts, and
Yeah.
like we were tame compared to that. Like we liked the idea of Greg being very, or Jack Woodrow being very, like, in control, cerebral, charming, and then to me that's more terrifying and unnerving, when someone can charm you, get your guard down, and then all of a sudden, you know, uh,
You,
stab you in the back.
you never have to worry about the person that points a finger at themselves and yet says you have to worry about me. It's the person that's
Right.
quiet in the corner that's not saying
Yes.
a lot. That's the person you need to worry about more than
A
anybody.
100%. 100%. And I think in that way, much more compelling for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're getting short on time here, but when and where can people see the film? Because I really enjoyed it and I want to highly recommend this to people. In fact, one
Thank
of
you
the
so
reasons I
much.
do this is the best job I ever had was working in a video store. Unfortunately, they
Incredible.
don't exist anymore, and I can't really provide for a family doing that at this point in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the most fun I ever had, and it was just recommending movies. And I would love to have had this on the shelf and to be able to show this
Oh,
film to people. So I think I
thank
just
you
want
so
to
much.
recommend this one to people for them to check it out because I think you got a special one here, man.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Well, hopefully, with the DVD sales coming back, maybe video stores will come back. But so Quiver is releasing the film on June 26th, so it'll be on demand and to rent and buy, and then we'll be on other on various platforms and streaming platforms. And then we have our premiere Monday night in New York City, and then I'll be doing screenings throughout the summer around the country. I believe we got New York City, then upstate New York, where I grew up in my town, and then Vancouver, LA, and then it just goes on for the rest of the year. So definitely check out the Above the Line Instagram. That'll have all the updates there. Above the Line movie. And then, but yeah, and to rent and buy on a bunch of different platforms starting the 26th.
That's awesome, man. And congratulations on getting to play your hometown. That has to be, I
Oh,
would
thank
assume, the
you.
special one for you to go to the a theater that you saw
Yeah.
when you were a kid, kind of thing. Or
Yeah, no, totally surreal. I'm so excited that, and then even premiering at the Angelica in New York City here.
oh, that's
Um,
huge. That's amazing.
yeah, I used to work in finance and accounting in New York City. So to come full circle and premiere the film here is just awesome. So yeah,
I
very
mean,
fortunate.
I used to live in Northeast New Jersey when I was in middle school and high school, and we went into
Wow.
the Angelica multiple times without our
Oh,
parents knowing, going to see little indie films on the weekend. So
that's amazing.
that's a shrine of a theater. That's a congrats, man. That's a special one for
Thank
sure.
you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I could not be more excited. So yeah, it'll be really fun.
But I really want to check out your horror film when that comes
Yeah.
next year, because the I think the thing that works here in your film and Above the Line and that makes great horror is the character work. That you could remove
Thank you.
the genre elements and you would still have a story worth telling. And if you do that, because
Yeah.
I think you did that here in Above the Line, you could remove the caper aspect of this and you still have a story worth telling here. And I think that if you do that in your horror film as well, you got something real special. So keep up that. I love that through line.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, I think yeah, I always, it's funny you say that. I always say that about The Dark Knight. If you take away the
Yeah,
comic book aspect of it, that would be a phenomenal film, as is. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah, the film's called The Caged, and the Dread Central just dropped the trailer not too long ago. So
nice.
um, yeah, check it out. It'll be coming. It should be coming out later this year. We should have a release date soon.
That's fantastic. Well, I hope I get to talk to you again when that one's coming out, man.
Absolutely. Would love
Very
that. Would
cool.
love that.
All right. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Jeffrey. It was great to meet you. Congratulations, man.
Likewise. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Take
Appreciate it.
care.
Get cell phone ring lit up on a nice night. I gotta say you got a cheese grater, boys. Acting like I meant to hurt, screaming like I meant to hurt. But bitch, I don't work for you anymore. Bitch, I don't work for you anymore. And it's hot inside of the sun. I could put you there, and it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. Just might explode. Acting like I meant to hurt, screaming like I meant to hurt. But bitch, I don't work for you anymore. Bitch, I don't work for you anymore. And it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. And it's hot inside of the sun. I will put you there.